Hi friends, welcome to Snowflake Interview Questions Part 2. In Part 1, I have discussed 25 frequently asked Snowflake interview questions. This is the continuation of Part 1. Question number 26. What is Snowpipe and write syntax for creating Snowpipe? So in Snowflake we have a very good feature called Snowpipe. Okay, if we want to load the data continuously from any cloud storage providers like Amazon S3 or Azure Containers or Google Cloud Storage, okay, we can build Snowpipe and we can do the continuous loading like by for every 5 minutes, for every 1 hour or daily loads by using Snowpipe easily. Okay, so for building Snowpipe, we have to do some settings. Like first of all, we have to create a storage integration object between the cloud storage provider and Snowflake, and we have to do some event-based triggering settings. Like whenever the file appears in the Amazon S3 buckets or Azure containers, okay, it will send a notification to Snowflake that a new file has arrived and it is ready for processing. Then Snowpipe will pick that file and it will process the data, it will process that file and load the data into Snowflake tables. Okay, so this is about Snowpipe. And Snowpipe is a serverless compute model. That means we don't need to specify any virtual warehouse for Snowpipes. Okay, it will utilize the resources offered by Snowflake itself. Okay, and the Snowpipe provides a pipeline for loading fresh data in micro batches as soon as it is available. So with the continuous data loading, we are going to process small data sets, okay, for every 5 minutes or for every 30 minutes or for every 1 hour. So we do the micro batches processing here. Okay, so it's like a pipeline between the cloud storage provider and the Snowflake. And below is the syntax for creating a Snowpipe. It looks like a create or replace pipe name, and we have to specify auto ingest equals to true, and we have to provide a keyword called as, then the actual copy command which we use to get the data from external stages. Okay, and if we want to see the definition of existing pipe, okay, we can simply run a command called describe pipe name. Okay, this is about Snowpipe in Snowflake. Question number 27. What are the roles available in Snowflake? Okay, so in Snowflake, we don't grant the privileges on database objects to users directly. Instead, we create roles based on the functions we are doing, based on the tasks we are doing. Okay, we create a set of roles. Okay, and we grant the privileges on database objects like tables and views to these roles. Then these roles will be assigned to the actual users. Okay, suppose there can be any number of roles, like suppose for example development role, tester role, business analyst role, end user role. Okay, so based on the role we'll assign some privileges. It can be a only select access, or it can be insert delete update access. Okay, it can be any type of access. We grant those privileges to roles, and in turn these roles will be assigned to the users. Okay, and a user can be assigned multiple roles. Suppose if anyone is doing both the developer role and tester role, then both the roles can be assigned to that user. Okay, and in Snowflake we have two types of roles. One is system defined roles and second one is custom roles. So these are the system defined roles. Like account admin, he is the top level access. He can do anything. Account admin can do anything in Snowflake. Okay, and we have other roles like security admin, sysadmin, user admin, public admin, and recently Snowflake introduced one more role like org admin. Suppose if my organization in my organization, if I have multiple Snowflake accounts, okay, organization admin will have access on all those accounts, Snowflake accounts. Okay, so that is the organization level role. When it comes to the account admin role, so he is the admin of this whole Snowflake account. Okay, and if we see whenever we come to security admin, so and user admin, so these are the roles responsible for creating users, creating roles, and granting privileges to those roles and users. And when it comes to the sysadmin role, so he is responsible for completely like creating the virtual warehouses, creating the database objects like databases, schemas, tables, views, everything. Once sysadmin is done with creating all this, and whenever security admin and user admin are ready with uh, roles and users, then the sysadmin can grant the privileges and the objects, database objects like tables and schemas to those users, and or he can grant the access to both users, he can grant the access to the roles, okay. And there will be a public role, okay, this is the least level role, and every user whoever created in the Snowflake account, by default they will have public role access, okay, and this is the least level access. So when you see the organization, when you see this flow, it is upward, right? All arrows are pointing to upward. That means whatever the properties of public role will be inherited by user admin and sysadmin. And if you see what all the properties user admin have, those are inherited by security admin. That means whatever user admin can do, all those things can be performed by security admin. And if we see, so account admin is having both security admin and sysadmin. So he is inheriting the properties of both the security admin and sysadmin. That means account admin can control both, can do whatever the things can be done by security admin and sysadmin. And also there are some custom roles, okay, these are not system defined roles, but we can define custom roles. As I said, we can create custom roles for developers, testers, end users, business analyst, okay, multiple custom roles we can select. So in Snowflake it is best to practice, okay, assign your all your custom roles to sysadmin, so that sysadmin will have control over all the database things, okay, the custom roles are doing, or the users with custom roles are doing. So if we don't assign these custom roles to sysadmin, then he will not have access, he will not have control over these custom roles or database related things, whatever these custom roles are doing. Okay, so this is always a best practice. Whenever you create a custom role in Snowflake, just assign that custom role immediately to sysadmin. Okay, so this is about the system defined roles and custom roles in Snowflake. Question number 28. What are the editions of Snowflake and which one you are using in your project? So interviewer may ask you, so you are working on a Snowflake project, which edition of Snowflake you are using? Okay. So when it comes to the editions, there are 4 editions of Snowflake: standard, enterprise, business critical, and virtual private. Okay. These editions differ in terms of multi-clusters, time travel, security, and many other features. Okay, so and if you see the cost of these editions, so standard edition is somewhat cheap, and the features are available in the standard edition are very less. Okay, but when it comes to the enterprise edition and business critical edition, they offer so many features like materialized views and many other features. Okay, and the virtual private Snowflake is the highest one. Okay, the dollar rate for credits we are consuming will be very high in virtual private Snowflake. And when it comes to the standard edition, it is $2.7 per credit, and when it comes to the enterprise edition, it is $4, and in business critical edition, it is $5.4 per credit. Okay, and if you opt for standard edition, the security of this will be very less. Okay, and if you go for enterprise and business critical, whenever you are going higher, okay, like enterprise edition or business critical edition or virtual private edition, okay, your security will be high. Okay, so and there are some other things like the time travel, how the time travel is dependent on edition. Okay, so they differ in many terms like multi-clusters, time travel, security. Okay, and most of the organizations use either enterprise edition or business critical edition. So whenever interviewer is asking you what edition you are using, you can say either enterprise or business critical or whatever you are using in the current project. Question number 29. What is the virtual warehouse size you are using in your project and how many clusters? So interviewer may ask you, so what is the size you are using and how you have decided that size and how many number of clusters you are using? So we can answer like, so we have to choose our virtual warehouse size based on the data we are dealing with and based on the complexity of the queries. Suppose I am operating with millions and billions of rows, and if we are using extra small size, definitely it may not be enough. Or we are using we are dealing with millions of rows, and I have very complex queries. I have multiple joins, and I have applied window functions, group by functions, so many things. My query is very complex. So in that case, if you go for extra small or small, it may not be enough. Okay, so we have to choose our virtual warehouse size based on the data size we are dealing with, and as well as the complexity, queries complexity we are writing. Okay, and when it comes to the number of clusters, okay, the number of clusters purely dependent on the number of concurrent jobs. That means number of the parallel jobs running in our system. Okay, so if we have very less jobs, like we have some 5 or 6 jobs running at any point of time, then we can go with one cluster or two clusters. But if we have large number of queries, like in tens or 20s, then we have to choose our number of clusters accordingly. Okay, and and also the virtual warehouse size and number of clusters depends on the environment as well. So in development environment, we deal with very less size data, right? Like we deal with hundreds or thousands of rows only. So we can choose small size warehouse like extra small or small. But when it comes to the production, we don't want to take risk. That's why we can choose like a medium or large. That is based on the data size we are operating. Okay, so you can say like we are using M size virtual warehouses with 4 clusters in the production environment. Okay, so question number 30. What is vertical scaling and horizontal scaling? So in Snowflake, we have a flexibility. Whenever you feel like your data size is growing or you are writing complex queries, and suppose you started with extra small warehouse, okay, and in future your data size is growing or your complexity of your queries is increasing, then you can easily switch to the next level virtual warehouse. Suppose if you are using extra small, you can switch to small or medium or large size. So we call this as vertical scaling. That means we can increase the virtual warehouse whenever it is required, or we can decrease the virtual warehouse whenever it is required. Okay, uh, and what is the horizontal scaling? So suppose when we started the project, okay, we have only 10 jobs running concurrently. So in that time, I just have selected my clusters as 1 or 2. But in future, my number of jobs are growing to 10, 20, 30, 40 like that. So in that case, what I have to do? I have to increase my number of clusters. So we call that process as horizontal scaling or scale out. Okay, so vertical scaling we can call as scale up also. That means increasing your virtual warehouse size. But here it is increasing the number of clusters. We call this as horizontal scaling or scale out. So whenever your number of concurrent jobs or parallel jobs are increasing, okay, you can easily switch to multiple number of clusters. You can increase from 2 to 3 or 4 or up to 10 we can increase. The maximum Snowflake is offering is 10 clusters. Okay, this process we call as a scale out or horizontal scaling. Question number 31. What are the different table types available in Snowflake? Okay, so there are 3 types of tables available in Snowflake: permanent table, transient tables, and temporary tables. Okay, so permanent tables are the actual tables we deal in Snowflake, and the time travel is 0 to 90 days. Okay, 90 days retention period it supports, and it will have 7 days fail safe period. When it comes to the transient tables, they are very similar to the permanent tables. Okay, the data will be stored permanently, but whenever you feel like for these tables the data protection is not required or data recovery is not required, then you can um, define them as transient tables. Because for transient tables the retention period is 0 to 1 day, and there will be no fail safe period. So there will be no time travel cost or fail safe cost for transient tables, right? So whenever you feel like the data recovery is not required or data protection is not required, and but you need that storage, that means the data should be stored permanently in the database. In that case, you can go to transient tables. And what are the temporary tables? Okay, so temporary tables will be active only in the current session. whenever you close that session, the temporary tables will be dropped automatically. And even for temporary tables, the retention period is 0 to 1 day, and there will be no fail safe. So majorly we use temporary tables in stored procedures for intermediate data storage. Okay, and if you create any database or schema as a transient, okay, by default the tables we are going to create under schema or under the database will be transient by default. Okay. Question number 32. What is the use of transient tables and temporary tables? So just now I discussed this. So transient tables are similar to the permanent tables where the data will be stored permanently in the storage layer. But whenever we have a requirement like I don't need much data security, I don't want the data recovery. Okay, in that case I can define my tables as temporary tables. Okay, and in real time, so we create the stage tables and intermediate work tables as transient, because the stage tables, even though you lose some data, you delete the data or you drop the table, you will have external stages or you will have internal stages where you can get the data back. Suppose I am using AWS S3 as my external stage. Okay, so even though I delete the data from my stage table, I can get it by using the files available in the S3 buckets, right? So we can create the stage tables and the intermediate work tables as transient. And when it comes to the temporary tables, so they will not exist once we close the session. Okay, so majorly we use this temporary tables in the stored procedures for intermediate data processing or intermediate data storage. Suppose I have created a stored procedure and I am operating okay, I am running so many queries inside the stored procedure, and I have a requirement like I want to store the data temporarily in some table. In that case, instead of creating a temporary table, instead of creating permanent table or transient table, we can go for temporary tables, because I need the data to be stored temporarily. That means at the till the end of that stored procedure, right? So in that case, we can go for temporary tables. And these tables will get dropped once the execution of the stored procedure completed. Okay. Question number 33. So this is very important. What is the retention period of permanent, transient and temporary tables? This we already discussed. Okay. So for permanent tables, it is 0 to 90 days retention period. Okay, and 7 days of fail-safe period. Once the retention period is completed, the data will go to into fail-safe zone. Once that 7 days of uh, fail-safe period is completed, then we cannot recover the data. Okay, and suppose in my if the retention period is more, then definitely the storage cost of the table will be more. So even though Snowflake is offering 90 days of retention period for permanent tables, in real time we don't go for 90 days, so we can reduce it to 30 or 60 or 10, whatever it is. So we have a command called alter table command, where we can set the data retention time in days as required. Okay, and for transient tables, it is by default 0 to 1 day retention period, and there will be no support of fail-safe. Same as temporary tables, 0 to 1 days of retention period for temporary tables, and there will be no fail-safe. Okay, and by default, whenever we create a permanent table or transient table or temporary tables, by default retention period is 1. So if it is a permanent table, you can increase it up to 90 days. Okay, for a transient and temporary, you cannot increase, but you can set it to 0. So setting 0 means we are disabling the time travel period, time travel retention period for those tables. Okay. Question number 34. Can you create a temporary table with the same name as permanent table? Okay. So this is also very important question. So yes, we can create. Suppose if I have a table, employee table as a permanent table in my database. Okay. Can I create a employee? Can I create a temporary table with the same name? Okay, so we can create, and whenever you try to fetch the data from employee table, in that session it will fetch the data from temporary table, not from the permanent table. And if you close that session, or if you open another session and if you fetch the data from employee table, okay, so it will fetch the data from original employee table, that means the permanent table. So only the temporary table will be active in that current session. Even though you create new worksheet, okay, you try to pull the data from employee table, it will pull the data from the permanent table, not from the temporary table. Okay, so temporary tables are specific to that sessions or to that worksheets only. Okay, and question number 35. How can you convert a temporary table or transient tables into permanent tables? So in Snowflake, we cannot convert one type of table into another type. It can be anything. Okay, you cannot convert a transient table to permanent. You cannot convert a temporary table to permanent, or you cannot create. You cannot convert a temporary table to transient table. So any type of conversion is not possible in Snowflake. Question number 36. What are the different caches available in Snowflake? Okay, so caching, this is very important feature available in Snowflake. Okay, or this is one of the best feature of Snowflake. Okay, there are two types of caches available in Snowflake. One is result cache and second one is local disk cache. So let's see about results cache. Okay, so what this will do, results cache will hold the results of a query. Okay, up to 24 hours. Suppose if I am running a query, okay, and if I run the same query again in within next 24 hours, so instead of fetching the results from the permanent storage, it will fetch the data from results cache. So the performance will be very good. Suppose my actual query is taking 5 minutes to run, and it is taking 5 minutes to display the data. Okay, but if we run the same query again within next 24 hours, it will fetch the data within seconds from the results cache. It will not go to permanent storage because I am trying to run the same query. So here the constraint is we have to run the same query, and these queries are so this result cache is across virtual warehouses. So suppose there are multiple warehouses, virtual warehouses I am using in the current Snowflake account, and I have multiple users. So even though another user is running the same query on another virtual warehouse, still it will fetch the results from results cache. So definitely the performance will be very good. Okay, and when it comes to the local disk cache, so I forgot to tell one thing in the results cache. So we can turn off this results cache and we can turn on by using a command called alter session. Okay, so whenever I feel I don't need a results cache, okay, I can turn it off. That means the results will not be stored in the result cache. But in real time we don't do that because it will improve the performance a lot, right? So we never turn off the results cache. And when it comes to the local disk cache, so here uh, it is not query specific, but whenever you run some query, okay, it will fetch the data from the permanent storage, right? So that data will be stored in the local disk cache till that session is closed. Okay, so whenever data is needed for a given query, it is retrieved from the remote disk storage, and it will be cached in the memory or SSD. Okay, and whenever you try to run the same query, or whenever you try to fetch the same data within within that session, instead of going to permanent storage, it will go to this local disk cache and displays the data very fast. Okay, so here there is one more good thing with local disk cache. Suppose I am running a query like select star from employee table, and I have a million rows. Okay, so whenever I run that query, all the million records will be stored in the SSD or memory. That means the local disk cache. And whenever I am running the whenever I am trying to retrieve the subset of the data, suppose select star from employee where department equals to 10. So this is a subset of the data select star from employee table, right? So even though query is different here, for results cache, the query should be same. But for local disk cache, even though query is different, but the data is same, and the data is already available in the local disk cache. So instead of going to permanent storage, it will fetch the data from local disk cache. So again, the performance will be very good. So caching is a very important feature in Snowflake for for the query performance. Okay, performance improvement of our queries. Okay, question number 37. What are streams in Snowflake? Write a query to create a stream object. So streams in Snowflake. Okay, so we use streams for change data capturing. That means, so whenever we create a stream on any object, okay, so that stream will capture all the changes occurring to that object. Suppose I have a stage table and I have created a stream over that stage table. So my stream will be tracking all the inserts, all the updates, all the deletes happening to that stage table. Okay, so it is very important when you are maintaining slowly changing dimensions like type 1 or type 2. There will be a need to track all these changes and apply the same at the target table level, right? So we use streams for this purpose. Like for change data capturing, we use streams. And for creating a stream, the syntax is like create or replace stream, stream name, and table, table name. Suppose if I want to create a stream, employee stream on my employee table, create or replace stream, okay, stream underscore employee on table employee. Okay, so this stream will record all the changes occurring to the table over the time, and whenever we are done with applying the same changes, okay, to the target object, then these changes will go off. Okay, we'll see that in the next slide. Next question. Question number 38. How the stream tracks the changes occurring to a table. So this is very important. In the previous question we told like the stream will be capturing all the changes occurring to a table, but how it will be tracking. Okay, so every stream contain two fields. Okay, metadata $action, metadata $is update. So metadata action can be insert or delete. Metadata is update can be true or false. So in Snowflake, in streams, what will happen? Every operation will be treated like one uh, delete. Suppose if there is a update operation, that means deleting the old row and inserting a new row. Okay, it will perform like that in Snowflake. So there are these two are very important metadata fields, metadata action and metadata is update. Just try to understand when metadata action is insert, okay, and metadata update is false, that means there is no update, and I am inserting the data, that means it's a insert record. So it will mark that record as a insert record. And when my metadata action is delete and metadata is update is false, that means there is no update, that means it is not updating any record. So this record will be marked as a delete record. And suppose if I have a fields like metadata action is insert and metadata is update is true, that means it is a update record and I have to insert this update record. Okay, so it will mark that record as a update record. And there can be one more action, metadata action equals to delete and metadata is update equals to true, that means this is also a update record and it is to delete the old record. Okay, and then it will insert the new record with the updated values. A stream records update operation as a set of delete and insert. So in the note I specified this. A stream records update operation as a set of delete and insert. It will delete the old record and it will insert the updated record. Question number 39. What are the types of streams available in Snowflake? Okay, there are three types of streams in Snowflake: standard streams, append only streams, and insert only streams. So standard streams, whatever we just discussed, so it will keep track of all the changes occurring to the table where we have defined the stream object. That means all the insert operations, update changes or delete changes, it will be capturing all the changes occurring to the table. But when it comes to the append only streams, it will capture only the inserts. So it will not capture these streams will not capture the delete and update operations. When it comes to the insert only operations, so these are supported for streams on external tables only. So we cannot create insert only streams on the uh, uh, Snowflake tables, but we can create the streams on the external tables. An insert only stream tracks only insert only records. They don't track the delete operations or update operations going on the external tables. Okay, so these are the three types of streams available in Snowflake. For more information on these three types, okay, you can try in Snowflake documentation. So they have given very good explanation with some examples, so you can go through that. Okay, so question number 40. What is a task and write syntax to create a task? So suppose I am done with the writing my SQLs or stored procedures. Now I want to schedule them. That means I want to run them every day, and based on the schedule requirement, I have to run it like every hour or every day or every week or every month. So how can we do? So we have a very good concept in Snowflake called task. By using task, we can schedule our queries or stored procedures. We have to provide the virtual warehouse to execute the SQL statement. Okay, so whenever the task is trying to execute, so it needs some resources, compute resources, right? We have to specify virtual warehouse for that. Nowadays, recently, so they made the task as Snowflake made the task as serverless. That means no need to specify the virtual warehouse even. You can directly schedule your queries or stored procedures. Okay, and we can also use cron scheduling in tasks. So if you have some idea on cron, okay, so we can use cron also for scheduling tasks. So there are two, we can schedule in two ways. One is as shown in the first example. So here I am creating a task. Okay, I'm using the virtual warehouse, compute virtual warehouse, and scheduling is 1 minute as the SQL statement that here I have to provide the SQL statement that needs to be executed for every 1 minute. So as I am scheduling it for every 1 minute, it will run for each and every minute. Okay, and there will be another type. By using cron we can schedule like create or replace task name, and we have to provide the virtual warehouse, and schedule is using cron. And suppose if you see here in this example 07 star star star, if you don't have idea on cron format, okay, you can just google like what is the format of cron. So this job will be executed every day at 7 a.m. UTC. Okay, this is minutes part, this is hours part. Okay, and this is days, months, and day of the week part. So these three are okay. So if you don't have idea on cron, what is cron, just google it, what is the cron format, you will get some idea. So by using this cron I can schedule like anything. Suppose if I want to run every day at particular time, I can do. If I want to run only on Sundays, if I want to run only on second day of the month, okay, so we can schedule any way by using this cron. Okay, so these are the tasks. So by using tasks in Snowflake we can schedule, okay, any number of queries or any number of stored procedures, and even we can create a tree of tasks to maintain the dependencies. Suppose I have two tasks and I want to run the task 2 once the task 1 is completed. So how can you do that? You can create a tree of tasks in Snowflake. By using trees we can maintain the dependencies between our queries or stored procedures. Okay. Question number 41. How can you implement column level security in Snowflake? So this is very important. Okay. This is very good feature available in Snowflake, as well as the interview purpose. This is very important. In every interview you'll get this question. Okay. So in Snowflake we can implement the column level security by using dynamic data masking. Okay. Snowflake supports using dynamic data masking on columns of tables and views. Okay. So what is dynamic data masking? Okay, so suppose there is some sensitive information like customer's account balance or customer PHI information, and if I want to hide that information from the users, okay, we can apply some masking policies over that data. Suppose if I want to partially mask the data, I can do that. If I want to fully mask the data, I can do that. So we have something called masking policies. First of all, we have to define masking policies. That means we have to define who is the authorized user to see the data and who is the non-authorized user or unauthorized user. Suppose I have roles like admin role, okay, and other roles like development tester, okay, end user, business analyst, and I want to hide the data from all developers, testers, okay, and business analyst, but end user should be able to see the data. So we can define masking policies such that whenever my current role is in end user, then display the actual data. Otherwise, just mask the data like this. Okay, you can mention anything here. Okay, you can mention some ash symbol or star symbol, or you can completely mask, or you can partially mask, whatever. So we have to create a masking policies like that. So we can create masking policies based on the roles we are operating, as well as we can put some conditional statements. So when this condition is true, display the actual value. when the condition is false, then mask the data. Okay, like that we can do uh, like this we can provide column level security in Snowflake. And whenever you do this, okay, so the data will be not stored in this format. Suppose in this example I am just masking the data, but data will not be stored like this characters in the tables. Okay, in the permanent storage area, permanent storage layer, the data will be stored as it is. But whenever the user, okay, is fetching the data from the table, it displays like this. If he is not authorized, okay, the data will be displayed like this. That means whenever the query is running, this policy will be applied dynamically and it will display the masked data. That's why we call this as a dynamic data masking. Okay, even though the data stored uh, as it is in the permanent storage layer, but whenever it is trying to display the data, it is trying to it is displaying the masked data. That means the masking policies are applying dynamically whenever user is trying to fetch the data. That's why we call it as dynamic data masking. Okay, and this is how we create masking policy, and this is how we apply the masking policies on any fields of the tables or views. Okay, so the syntax will be like create or replace masking policy, and we have to provide which column we are trying to hide the data, and which data type we are returning. And this is a condition. This data type should match. Suppose if you are trying to hide the data of a varchar type, then your return type should be varchar only. Okay, if you are trying to hide the numeric data, that means you should return a numeric value. So you cannot put symbols like this. You have to place some default number like 0 or 999 like that. Okay, and this is so once we are done with the creating masking policies, we can apply by using alter statement. So we can do like this: alter table, okay, table name, modify column, column name, set masking policy, and the policy name we just have created. Okay, and we can apply same masking policy on multiple fields of multiple tables and views. Okay, so this is very good feature available in Snowflake. Question number 42. Write syntax to create a stored procedure and UDF. Okay, UDF is nothing but user defined functions. Along with the system defined functions, we can create our own functions. Those are called UDFs, and we can create stored procedures as well as in Snowflake. Okay, so this is the syntax for creating a stored procedure, like create or replace procedure name, and we can pass any number of arguments to this stored procedure, and we must mention a return data type. So what is the type we are returning here? And we can, so this is very good. Again, in Snowflake we can write stored procedures in any language like SQL, Java, JavaScript, Scala, Python. It supports all these types of languages for writing stored procedures. In traditional databases like MySQL or Oracle, wherever you are writing some stored procedures, you can write only in SQL, structured query language. But here we can write in any language. Okay, it supports all these languages. The same way, user defined functions also we can create like this: create a function, create function name. We have to provide the arguments and return type, and we can write functions in any of this language, SQL, Java, JavaScript. Okay, and we can put the functionality inside the function. Suppose if we are using the same calculation everywhere in my database, so instead of calculating every time, okay, we can create a user defined function and we can use that user defined function there. Okay, so I'm not going in detail about stored procedures and UDFs, but if you want to know more, you can go through Snowflake documentation. So they have clearly explained with some examples. Okay. Question number 43. What are the best practices you have followed in your project? So interviewer may ask you like this. So then you have to answer, right? So you can, if you have followed any best practices, you can just mention them. Otherwise, you can say some default things like we have to choose appropriate table type based on the requirement we have, and define the cluster keys properly on the large tables, and don't define cluster keys on small tables, and define cluster keys on frequently used fields like in filter conditions or in join conditions. only define cluster keys on those fields, and reduce the default retention period, because if we go with the 90 days retention period, okay, the cost will be very high. That's why go with the less retention period based on your requirement. And enable auto suspend and auto resume to decrease the consumption of your virtual warehouses. And choose appropriate warehouse size. Even though you are just operating with thousands of records, and if you are going with a large size or extra large size of virtual warehouse, the cost will be too much. That's why, so based on the data size you are dealing with, based on the concurrent queries you are running, and based on the query complexity, you choose proper virtual warehouse and the number of clusters. Okay, and we have to understand the storage and compute cost. So in my first video I have discussed clearly about this. Okay, what is the storage cost and what is compute cost. So if we have proper idea on this cost, then we can implement our code by using this by the understanding of this cost. Okay, so we have to understand what is storage cost and what is compute cost, must and should. Okay, so along with the Snowflake interview questions, in all of the interviews you will face some SQL questions also, general SQL questions. Okay, these are very important. Suppose if the interviewer is asking you 50% to 70% of Snowflake, and remaining 25 or 30% you will get some SQL questions. Okay, that's why you should be prepared with SQL concepts and SQL scenarios, and SQL, you have to practice SQL queries. Okay, suppose my question number 44 is, what is the difference between where and having? Okay, so where class is used to filter the data, while having is used to filter the summary data. Okay, so where we apply this where class to filter the data based on some conditions, but where we apply this having, once we are done with the grouping, calculating the summaries by using group by, then on the group data we can apply filters by using this having class. Okay, so you may get another question like, can you use both where and having in the same SQL statement? Yes, we can use. We can apply some conditions, then group the data, then apply the conditions on the summary data. Okay. Suppose I have a query like query to fetch list of departments contain more than 10 active employees. So how to write a query? Okay, so select department number, comma count of one from employee, where employee status equals to A, that means active. So here I am applying the where conditions. Then for each department I have to calculate, right? That's why I am saying group by department number, and the requirement is, so I have to display where we have more than 10 active employees. So I am applying having count of one greater than 10. So here if you see, I am using where and having in the same SQL statement. And you may get a question like, what is the order of where and having? So it will be like where, then group by, then having. Okay, so other questions will be like this. Write a query to delete the duplicate records from a table. So there are multiple ways. So we can delete the records by using row ID, and you can delete the records by using the rank approach, where you can calculate the rank or dense rank and keep only where rank equals to 1, and delete all remaining records. Or we can use a temporary table approach, where we create a temporary table, load the distinct records into the table, okay, drop again, truncate the original table and insert these distinct records to that original table, and drop the temporary table. Okay, this is one approach, but this is very important question. Okay, you can do it in multiple ways. Next question is, what is the difference between union and union all? So this is a general question. Union eliminate duplicate records after clubbing all the records, but union all will not eliminate the duplicate records. And when it comes to the performance, union all definitely gives the better performance, because the duplicate elimination task will not be required here. Okay, but there is one condition: to perform union and union all, the list of columns and order of the column should be same. So if we have multiple statements, and if I am applying union or union all between them, then all the statements should contain same number of columns, and the order of columns should be same. So this is very important question. Almost in every interview you will get this question. So the interviewer may ask this question to confuse you or to check your knowledge on the different join types we have in SQL. Okay, suppose I have two tables, table A and B, and these are the data I have in both the tables. And when I apply inner join, left join, right join, and full outer join, what is the number of records I'll get in the output? Okay, so by using this, you can easily say like inner join. If they ask you, you can say like 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2. That means there are four and null null. So many will say like null will match with null, but that is not true. Null never matches to a null. So even though we have nulls in both the tables, it will not be a match. That's why if you perform inner join between A and B, it will be four number of records only. 1 1, okay, 1 1, 2 2, 2 2. So A inner join B is 4. Like the way, so for left outer join, all the four records from inner join, and I have all the records from the left table. That means A is the left table here. So 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2, four records. 3 is the fifth record. There is no match. Even though there is a no match, it will fetch all the records from left table, and it will put some null on the right table. Okay, so this is the fifth record and this is the sixth record. So for left outer join, there will be six records. The same way for right outer join, there will be six records. Okay, 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2 4 and null. And for full outer join, it will be 8 records. Okay, because so 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2, there are four records, and 3 is the fifth record, 4 is the sixth record, null from the left table is one record, and null from the right table is one record. So there will be total 8 number of records. Okay, so you can simply say this counts. First of all, you just have to calculate the inner join. A inner join B, there are four records, right? 4 plus what are the distinct records from the table A, where we don't have matches. That means 3 and null. So 4 plus 2, 6 records. Okay. For full outer join, 6 plus. Okay. So whenever we do some left outer join or outer join, these many will come, right? 4 plus 2 plus 2. Okay. How many records will come? 8. That means 1 1 1 1 2 2 2 2 4 5 6 7 8. So you can easily tell. No need to take much time. And but remember carefully, null never matches to a null. Okay, so question number 48, query to fetch department wise third highest salary. Okay, so this is very important, and you can easily write by using a qualify. Okay, qualify row number over partition by. So here I am doing the partition by on department ID because they are asking department wise third highest salary, right? So I am doing the partition on department ID, and I am just applying the order by on the salary, that is descending order. And whenever it is 3, that means we are calculating the row number, right? Whenever it is 3, that means that will be the third highest salary. Suppose if your database is not supporting qualify, how can you write? So you can simply calculate rank of the salaries, and after applying the uh, partition by department, because they are asking not only the third highest salary, they are asking the department wise third highest salary. Whenever you get a question like wise, department wise, employee wise, okay, location wise, then you must apply some group by or partition by on that. Okay, so here I am calculating dense rank over partition by department ID, order by salary descending. Okay, and in the outer query, okay, I am just calculating select department ID salary from this table. Okay, inner query where rank equals to 3. Okay, so in Teradata it support qualify, so you can simply write in one line, but in other databases like Oracle, MySQL, okay, they don't support qualify, so you have to write like this. So you just remember this will work everywhere in all the databases. Question number 49. What is the difference between coalesce and decode? Okay. In many interviews, the interviewer may ask you this question. Okay. Coalesce, it will search for a not null expression. Okay. So you can pass any number of expressions. Whenever it encounters the first not null expression, it will give the result as that one. Suppose my first expression itself is not null, then it will give the result as expression 1. So it will go through it finds the first not null expression. But when it comes to the decode, okay, so here it will be like a decode the column or expression search one result one. That means if I have a column like this, okay, age, okay, age, and if I have multiple search conditions and results, okay, when age is 10, when age is 10, then give this result. When age is 20, give this result. Like that, we can mention first column is mandatory, where we can specify like the column or expression we can mention, and then search result, search result, search result. That like that we can mention any number of search and results. Suppose if our expression or column is not matching with any of the search conditions, then it will give a default. We can mention a default value. So whenever this expression is not matching with any of the search criteria, then it will give the default value as a result. So that is the difference between coalesce and decode. So coalesce looks for first not null expression, and decode works like it will try to match this expression with the search conditions we have given. If we don't find any search, if we don't find this column or expression in any of the search criteria, then it will display the default result. Okay. Question number 50. What is the difference between primary key, unique key, and surrogate key? So in almost all interviews you will get this question. Okay. So, but you should understand, not only just preparing for interview, just try googling it. What is the difference, and see some examples how it works. Okay. So unique key constraint, unique key contains unique values in that field. It does not allow duplicates but allows nulls. Okay, so there can be any number of unique keys on a table. But when it comes to the primary key helps identify the record uniquely in the table. Basically, it is a unique plus not null. Okay, it will have all unique values and it won't allow any nulls. Okay, and when it comes to the surrogate key is a key with no business meaning. Suppose for a unique key or primary key, you will have some meaning for that column, but for surrogate key there will be a no meaning for that, and it's just a generated number. Okay, mostly we define surrogate keys as numeric only, and these are assigned to each row in the table, and we use the surrogate keys to identify the record uniquely in the table again. Okay, a table contains any number of unique keys but contains only one primary key, as I told already. So a table can contain any number of unique keys, but it contains only one primary key that will identify the record uniquely in that table. Okay, a primary key can be a combination of multiple columns. Okay, so it is not only a single column primary key, it can be a combination of two or three columns, where we can how we can identify that record as a unique in the table. Okay, but surrogate key is a single column, that is generated column or calculated column. Mostly it is a numeric value. Okay, for more details you can go through some googling. Okay, you can just type what is the difference between primary key and unique key. Okay, and you can see some examples for better understanding. So question number 51, how to convert timestamp to date in Snowflake. So this is how we convert the timestamp into date. We just have to select to date over the timestamp field, and it will give. And suppose if I want to extract the year or month or day from the timestamp, we can simply execute this. Select year of to date of this timestamp. Select month of to date of this timestamp, or a manual value or a varchar field. Okay, or select if you want to select a day. Okay, so which day. Okay, select a day of to date of this manual value or timestamp field. For year it will say like this is 2022. For month it will give this one 5, it will give output as 5. For day it will give output as 22. Okay, so this is how we convert a timestamp into date or year or month or a day in Snowflake. Question number 52. How to fetch only numeric characters from a string in Snowflake? Okay, so I was asked this question in one of the interview. That's why I'm giving you. So we can simply write a regular expression replace. Okay, so we can write like this: regular expression replace of string. So from where we have to extract only numbers, and okay, so whenever it encounters not digit character, so here you can see this cap symbol, that means not. Whenever it is not a digit, replace it with the empty character. So if you can see empty character here. So whenever in the string you find a not digit character, that means not numeric character, then replace that with as a empty character. Okay, so suppose I have a text like area code of employee ID 12345 is 6789 as a string. Okay, so if I want to extract only the numbers from here, I can write query like this. Select trim of regular expression of I am replacing all not digit characters with empty characters. So it will display the result as only 123456789. Okay, it will remove all the characters and displays only numeric digits. Okay. Question number 53. This is very important question. You will get this question in every interview. Tell me some performance tuning techniques of SQL queries. Okay, this is very important. And if you have some experience of tuning queries, you can explain that. Otherwise, these are some default performance tuning techniques we can apply on any database. Okay, like defining proper indexes. So indexes feature is not there in Snowflake, but in all traditional databases, you can create indexes. Indexes improves your performance a lot, performance of your queries a lot. Okay, and defining proper partition keys. So we have cluster keys in Snowflake. In other databases we call them as partitioning keys. Okay, this will help in improving the performance of your SQL queries. And the third one is very important. So people simply write their queries like select star from. So don't write select. It will try to fetch all the data. Instead, if you require only the ID and name field, just select those required fields. Okay, and replace R with union if possible. So you can there will be some conditions where you are applying R, but if it is possible to replace R with union, that means you write multiple queries after applying union. This will definitely improve your query performance. Okay, so R will try to scan all the data. Okay, and it takes lot of time. And if you apply R condition with not equals to symbol, then it will not give result at all. Okay, if your table is very large, it will not give result at all. It will try to scan all the data multiple times because you are putting not equals to with R, right? So whenever you have such requirement, replace R with union and use union instead of union null. Okay, if you are sure there are no duplicates. Okay, so union will eliminate the duplicates, right? And union null will not eliminate the duplicates. It will give all the results. So whenever you are sure there are no duplicates, okay, simply use union. And so you can use some CTEs, that means common table expressions, instead of using subqueries. Suppose if you have some requirement where and you have to apply that calculation at many places in your SQL query or stored procedures. So instead of writing subqueries everywhere, okay, you just write a common table expression at one time and use that everywhere in your query. So this definitely will improve your query performance. Okay, and use inner join instead of putting cross join plus where clause. So in my career I have seen so many people who simply join the tables by using comma and then write where clause. So it's not a good practice. So use inner join instead of using the cross join and applying the where clause. Okay, so whenever you do cross join and apply where clause, it will scan all the data from the table, then apply the where clause. Okay, so and if you are doing cross join, that means all the records will be joined with the all records of the other table. It's unnecessary, right? So instead we can use the required joins like inner join or left join or right outer join. Okay, so this is the best practice and it will improve the query performance a lot. And in Teradata especially, okay, collecting the missing starts will help improving the performance. Okay, and suppose if I want to share the data, okay, and I'm running the same query, and the user are the other users, okay, to whom we are sharing the data, if they are running the same query again and again, it's best practice to define materialized views on those tables. So if you don't define materialized views, every time whenever the user is running the query, it will go and fetch the data from the underlying tables. But if you use the materialized views, instead of going to the uh, underlying tables from the storage layer, it will fetch the data from the pre-computed result sets. So materialized views maintain pre-computed results sets. So the data will be fetched from there. So the query will be running very fast. Okay. And suppose if you want to understand where your query is taking more time, okay, so you have to look at your query execution plan. Or in Snowflake, we have very good feature available like query profile. It shows the flow of the your SQL query. So what are the tables it is scanning, what are the filters it is applying, what are the tables it is joining, everything it will show. So by using that query profile, you can understand uh, where your query is taking a lot of time or where is the bottleneck. Okay, so this is the very important question. Please go through this. Okay, and along with those questions, these are some of the frequently asked SQL questions in the interviews. What is the difference between NVL and NVL2? What are the DML commands in SQL? What is the difference between varchar and invarchar? What is an index in database? What is the difference between case and decode? What are the types of slowly changing dimensions? How a data warehouse is different from a database, what is the difference between rank and dense rank, write a query to find nth highest salary, that means second or third or fourth highest salary, and write a query to fetch all the employee details with even number employee ID. Okay, so these are the some frequently asked SQL questions. You can if you must I think you should be aware of the answers already. If not, just try to Google it and prepare your answers. So you don't try to by heart the answers, but you understand the concepts. So whenever you are trying to read the answer from Google, try to understand the concept, read more and understand the concept so that you can remember for every for your lifetime. Okay, if you are not understanding, if you are by hearting, then you have to by heart uh, every time. Whenever you have interview, every time you have to by heart. But if you try to understand the concept, just you need to understand once, then you can remember it for lifetime, right? So I advise personally, don't try to by heart the answers, just understand the concepts so that you can remember forever. Okay, so thank you friends, this is the part 2 of Snowflake interview questions. Okay, so if you have any doubts, you can reach me over the comments of this video, and this is my YouTube channel. Please subscribe and encourage me. Okay, thank you friends, bye.